Good morning, everyone. I'm Vincent Devall with the Eagle Homes, powered by EXP. We're here on the Eagle's Nest podcast, and I have
Brad Brewer, also with Eagle Homes, powered by EXP Realty. And we have a guest today in the studio,
woohoo,
Mike Raboine, who's just correcting him. I've been mispronouncing his name for, I don't know, a good decade now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike, appreciate that. Could have told me sooner.
Well, it's just the two of us. I'm cool with it, but
Since we're putting it out in public. Mike's with EZegress Windows. Actually, I'm not gonna ruin this for him, so I'll let him introduce himself. So tell us a little about yourself, personally, professionally, the company, whatever you want to say. It's all you.
yeah. So I was born here, raised here in Burlington, Wisconsin, and have various businesses over the years. I started out doing landscape construction with my brother. You know, paving bricks and retaining walls. Built that up pretty good, and then about 1998. Started remodeling BJ Wenker's Tavern here up here, and then ran that till about 2001. And one of the customers that came in was a mortgage guy, and he asked what we were doing at the upstairs, and it wasn't remodeled at that point. I said we were thinking of doing an office. He says, well, if you do an office, I'd rent that out as a mortgage. You know, he had a place on Browns Lake, but his main office was in Brookfield. And I said, well, who's going to run it for you? And he said, well, I don't know, I got to look for somebody. He's just a place I can, you know, don't have to drive up there every day kind of thing. I said, well, I had my degree in finance, or I was working towards my degree. I never finished college, because I started a business, you know, one summer. And he said, well, if you want to do it, you know, and I'm like, this is perfect. I could work upstairs from the restaurant. I can do both things, you know, and keep an eye on that, do this, you know, kind of thing. So we got the remodel done, started a business up there, and I got into mortgages in 2001. Right after 9/11, basically. I think I started in October, and things went great. I mean, that was a mortgage boom time. It was
Right.
it was like being in a money machine, man, every day, you know.
Right.
If you wore anything mortgage related on your person, you went to the grocery store, you'd have about 10 people hit you up for stuff, you know, like it was kind of crazy. But did that for a while, and then in 2006, both him and I went and started our own mortgage company. So it was First Option Home Loans. I think maybe Brad, that might have been familiar with that.
No, I was, I think I'm your next venture after that.
Okay.
Mortgage, I
Yes,
believe.
so that kind of started right before the crash, and you know, just it went very well during the crash. Went good because I maintained, because I did a lot of government loans, and after the crash, that's the only thing anybody
Right.
did.
Yep.
So did well through that, and then the regulations got very difficult at the state of Wisconsin. So at that point, I partnered up with Atlanta Mortgage. I was there till 2016, and then since then, I did a short sales thing at LPI. They do the parish bulletins for Catholic churches all over the country. I did online sales for them, setting up online giving. Did that for a while, and then you know, wanted to get back into my own business, and I was thinking, what should I do? And when I was doing the mortgage business, the EZegress Windows came up a lot, and it was a pain point. Like, people couldn't find anybody who could do it. They had to do it themselves, that sort of thing, and it was just a way to improve the sale or make the house more usable.
Right.
And so during that time, I was working. I'd left LPI, and I was actually working for Cleary, selling buildings. I'm doing very well doing that too. But I was thinking, what am I going to do? What do I do? This EZegress window thing kept popping up, and then one day, I got a call from a fellow salesperson. Said, "Hey, when our sales meeting in Madison, can you go down and pick this check up for me for a job I did?" It was kind of out of my way, but on my way, and not my territory. And I went there and I picked a check up, and the guy was a landscaper. Okay, and then my brother and I had that landscape company. We had something relation. I said, "What do you guys do? What do you specialize?" He goes, "I just put in EZegress windows." I'm like, okay, I'm going to take some time to talk to this guy. So, and he just did them for one window company. He didn't advertise, he did them, and he said, yeah, he said, I do 2-3 a week. It's the easiest thing I ever did. You know, and this, so I'm like, oh, great, I got this. And I'm on the way up, I call my brother, say, "Hey, just met this guy, you know," and because I'm in partners with my brother and my brother-in-law. And on the way up there, and then I get to the sales meeting, and it's the next day. So we all go out to eat, and there's salespeople from all over the country, right? And so we're sitting with this guy, and the guy I'm sitting next to at the table, I'm talking to him, and he's from Utah. And I said, "Oh, what do you do back in Utah?" He said, "I have an EZegress window company." Look at him, and I'm like,
That's the sign right there.
that's the sign, man. You get 2 in a day,
Right.
you know, and I'm sitting next to the guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like he's at the table or I bumped into him. I'm like,
Right.
and I have time to talk to him.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing, you know? So I'm like, I called my brother back. I said, we're starting egress window company. Why? I told him what happened. He said, done, you know? And so I just put together a website and I reached out to a couple window companies and got the website together. Said, look, I can take leads and I can bid stuff. I don't need to start it for 2 months, 3 months. And so I started doing that and just stuff started lining up. I said, all right, we got to go start buying some stuff. And now, will it be, that was in 2019. So right now, today, I found out, because the leading manufacturer of window wells, which is in, like at Home Depot, the ones you see there, it's called, St. Paul Corrugated.
Okay.
The owner called me, wanted to meet with me. I met with them, and then he came down another time with like different executives from other egress window manufacturings, and they spent a day on site with us. And after he was done, he said, look, I got to tell you, he said, I know all the egress window, the big ones around the country. He said, you're the biggest. And I said, because we do it about 10 a week if the weather permits.
Wow.
He says, there's nobody that does that more. He said, there's a guy in Colorado that comes close, but not the same. And he said, and you guys are growing. And he said, in your whole system, from the time that somebody contacts you, how you bid it, all the way through the process, the materials used, everything. He said, you're 5 years ahead of everybody else that we've seen.
That's
And
amazing.
so it was a great, I was like, okay, we got a lot of work to do. You know, like I'm like here with it. He's like here with it. So out of that conversation, we are the egress window industry as a whole, and I think we're going to get into it, is it's moving. Like he told me they do all these studies, right? And so what's happening is right now in the United States, 49 out of 50 states follow an international residential building code. They're all the same. And that's so a manufacturer of a new product can manufacture to conform with that code. Well, Wisconsin's different. We have our own code. It's not because we're fighting the system. It's because we're the first state that actually introduced the state code. So we're like the founder of the state code when other states didn't have it. So we have a UDC code. It's very, very similar, but there's some differences. So it's kind of a pain point with architects and engineers, because especially where we're at, because they're working with people in Illinois stuff, and they'll have people come to them, like build a lake house or something, say, look, I want to do this. I did it in Illinois, can't do it here. You know, it doesn't meet our code.
Right.
So the manufacturers aren't manufacturing and doing design work and stuff like that to our code. So it's going to change at some point. Who knows what it is? It's, you know, it's like trying to sink the Titanic probably, you know, like, you know, but anyway, so what these studies show is that the IRC code requires all 49 states that if you build a basement and it's over 200 square feet and used for anything other than mechanicals, you have to have a second way out of it, which an egress window is. Other things are like a door, you know, there's other things too, but the egress window is the cheapest. Right? Wisconsin doesn't have that. There's no code. We'll put egress windows in brand new houses, $750,000, $800,000 houses. There's not a single basement window in there. There'll be 9-foot ceilings and not nothing in there.
Well,
and the builders do that because it's a blank slate and they want to leave it a blank slate until a designer can go in there. They don't want to put stuff in and then, oh, we got a window there. We got it. You know what I'm saying?
right.
But we're the only state that doesn't require it. So these other states that require it, the houses that were built before that code, they're playing around in different municipalities, have it on their statutes now that you cannot transfer the home, title of the home, if there's not a second way out of that basement. And they're muddying through how this process will work at a local level so they can work out all the, because there's some houses you're just not going to be able to put an egress window there.
Right.
Right. So they're maybe, you know, they're figuring out what the exception are, that sort of thing. And then if you rent the home out in them same municipalities, you have to get the approval from the city, and they're going to do the approval the same thing. They got to have an inspector, the city inspector go through, look, there's bedrooms without windows. And so they, with both the city administrators that do this down in Illinois, that I've had conversations with, and all the way up to the top guys in the manufacturing, they said, look, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when. So what the thing is, they think it's going to go from a local level, then a state will let out, and then another state, and then pretty much all the states are.
Right.
So the fear is, from both the manufacturing thing, is that you're going to have, it's going to be like the wild, wild west. You know, everybody and their brothers are going to get an egress window company business. And it, basically, if you got a shovel and can rent some equipment, you can put an egress window. It's a bummer and it's not fun. It's going to take you 3 days, and if it rains, you're going to fill the basement full of mud. I mean, it's a nightmare.
Right.
In there. It's because these manufacturers, when a well fails because it wasn't installed correctly, they're getting a call, you know, from the homeowner. And it's not them, it's just, it was installed incorrectly, but the well looks like crap.
Right.
Right? So that's who they call, because they got a warranty on it. That's who they call. And he said, so we need to, as an industry, we want to form like a national egress window installers like association. And set standards, training, all this stuff, and then advertise these homeowners like, do not hire an egress window manufacturer or installer. Or buy from a manufacturer that's not part of this association.
Right.
We vet them all. You
Yep.
do, you do that in all industries.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's on the radar. I mean, not, it's more than on the radar. It's in planning. You know, I've been asked to be on that if it works out, and the other guy in Colorado, they wants a couple, you know, installers, and so that's kind of where you know, where we sit today,
Yeah.
and then where the trajectory of potentially it's gonna, well, where it's going, but who
And-
knows at the time.
Well, that was a bunch of stuff I just didn't know, and that's pretty cool.
That's why you invited me here.
Well, and I think it's cool too, because, you know, like you said, they invited guys that actually have the boots on the ground
Yeah,
versus just, you know, people sitting in an office going, oh, let's make these the standards.
Yeah.
At least you guys as installers gonna have a little bit of a say-so in, you know, some of those standards and how it's done, because you do
exactly.
it.
Yeah, and we want to see to the table when the states and stuff are actually putting the statute together. Like,
Right,
this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at with
yeah,
it.
that's awesome, because there's a lot of reality versus
Right.
fantasy that goes on when there's those, you know, regulations being made, so it's good.
One, great segue into the process. That's my next question.
Yeah.
Before that, I was something you said there. I almost, when we walk through homes with clients that are looking to buy, I actually don't mind the blank slate. I'd almost rather the builder go
Absolutely.
back to just do that and let a company like EZegress come in and put it in later. Because so many times we'll go down there and the buyer will say, boy, I wish that was over here because of how we're gonna finish the basement. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know why they put it there. That's like a better spot for it's over by the mechanical sometimes. It's like, who's gonna put a bedroom there? It'd be way better over here.
Yeah.
Or a rec room or whatever that you'd like some daylight. So
Yeah,
I almost wish they would go back to that.
well, there's some hope there.
Okay.
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 Because
Spill the beans.
yeah,
Okay.
so we get calls from builders that have built a house and they have a failed well. Okay,
Mhm.
my conversation, and these are big builders. They're not like, you know, 1 or 2 houses a year. These guys build 50, 60, 100 houses a year. And so what they're doing is doing what I said in the beginning is they're suggesting no windows in the basement, not even a little one. Because you're not gonna get out of it anyway, especially if you got a 9-foot ceiling.
Right,
So they're saying no windows
Mhm.
unless you're planning on doing the remodel or at least designing it out
Right.
from the start. Okay, which most people aren't doing. It's all budget, everything's, you know, it's the future plan, right?
Right.
But the reason they're doing is because one of their number one callbacks is on failed egress windows. And the reason they fail is because the well isn't being installed according to manufacturer's specifications. So the manufacturers won't stand behind it. And the reason for that is, when you put these in, you have to backfill with gravel. Okay, when they build on a new build, they just slam them on the side of the wall and then they backfill with like a big hole and they're just pushing everything against. There might be gravel underneath the well, but not around the well. It's just, it takes time.
right.
So time's money, right? So they got to charge more. And by the time they charge more, it's the same as if we come in and put it.
Sure.
Right? So they're just telling them, don't do it. You know, no need for it. Our code doesn't require it. You know, don't do it. And just at the time of the remodel, once you get all figured out, it's, you know, it's going to cost you basically the same anyways. And so what they're doing, if people are adamant about it, they're telling them, you know, like they're telling the same price that it would be to for us to put it in. So at that point, it's like, are you sure? Like, why would
Right.
you do this? You know, so that's kind of coming. And on a national standpoint, they don't have that flexibility. They got to put something in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But here we still got that. So
Yeah.
so it's, there's hope out there, Brad.
Yeah, there's a great argument for that. So
Yeah.
Just leave it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, we're not the leaders in a lot of things across the country. Wisconsin's leading the way and how
Yeah.
egress windows, right? So-
Yeah, the Wisconsin way. That's what I tell people. Hey,
That's
own
good
that.
here.
I'm gonna own that. So, you know,
You gonna copyright that?
yeah, I'm gonna copyright
Okay,
it.
okay,
The Wisconsin way. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so, now without giving all your trademark stuff away, kind of walk us through the process. If I've got a home where,
need
I have
egress
nothing, I need an egress window, what's my
Okay,
process?
first thing is visit our website. You can call us. or visit a website. We need to get you on our system, our contact management system. And then you get some, immediately you're gonna get some information. You're gonna get email, you're gonna get text, asking you to set up an estimate call, because we start with an estimate call. If you don't set that up, we got reminders, even, voicemails that you're gonna get until you do it. Once you do it, that all stops. So we're gonna be kind of annoying in a sense,
Yeah.
but
Process, we know how that works.
yeah. No, I know.
Just tell us what you want and we'll stop bothering
Well,
you.
the reason I learned how to do it this way is from realtors. So,
Yeah.
thanks,
You're welcome.
Yeah, so once that estimate call's set, they just go on a Calendly link, pick the time. And once that's set, then they get an email. It's a 10-page PDF. It's like a proposal. It's got like our process, the type of materials we use, links to the manufacturers of those materials. And then it has a base package, which this is typically what's going to get you egress. Most bang for your buck. It's the biggest window kind of thing, the cheapest install. And but it doesn't have a price. And then all the upgrades, like the better window wells or nicer ones, the nicer windows, you want an Anderson window or a different window.
Mhm.
Those upgrades and the cost for those upgrades are on there. You just don't have a price for that base pack.
Got it.
And so once we get on the call, the goal of the call is to get that base price to them. So then I'll ask them just a series of simple questions. They also have the option to create an online link where they can answer the questions in a survey and upload photos. 20% do that.
Got it.
Okay, but that only saves me 5 minutes of conversation if they do.
Sure.
Okay, but once I'm on the phone with them, I find out what they're doing, what the situation is, ask them the questions like what type of foundation, where do you want it? Is there utilities there? And can you send me, if I have any question, I say, can you send me a picture of this number?
Mhm.
And then I give them the cost, and the cost varies, the things that cause it to vary is, your distance from us. Like if you're an hour and a half away, I got to charge you for time and
Yeah.
gas,
Yeah.
and I'll tell them like our base price is this, you're an hour and a half away. We charge about $20 a minute after like 45, 50 minutes. So we've done, last week or the week before, we did 2 windows up in Randolph, which is almost 2 hours away.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
we'll do them if you pay us to come,
Right.
We did one in DeKalb, Illinois. I think that was an hour and a half away, but 2 hours is about as far as we've done. We don't have Belgium, Wisconsin,
Okay.
so we'll go there. And give them that price and then say, just add, look in whatever you want to add options wise, you just do the math.
Yeah.
Right. And then, and when I come out there, I can guarantee you that this is going to be the price. Like, I'm not going to show up and give you a different price, waste of time. We do 10 of these a week. Your house is no different than the one we're doing today, like kind of thing. So, and then the only other thing that really changes it if I get there is accessibility. Like we got to be able to get there with our equipment, which isn't big, but I can't be, if there's a fence 5 feet away from the house. I mean, I've got equipment that'll do that, but again, that's going to take more time, more money.
Right.
So usually that'll incentivize them to ask the neighbor to come across the yard, do it on the other side, because it's not cheap. I mean, that extra time's.
It
adds up.
Yeah,
It
it
adds up.
So, because the whole process takes us 6 hours to do.
Right.
We show up there about 8 in the morning. I mean, if they're not out of there by 2 o'clock, a piece of equipment broke down, they had to run and rent something, but we maintain our stuff very well. It doesn't.
So that's rare.
Very rare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, adding 3 hours to a 6-hour job, I mean, do the math.
I'm impressed it's a 1-day job. I mean, you're digging down, you're cutting into stuff. So, I mean,
Well,
that's
so the fastest they've done it is I had a crew leave and they got to the job site at 7:30.
yeah.
And it was about half hour away. They were back before I went to lunch at 11:30.
Wow.
Wow.
Done.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and you think, well, they're doing shoddy work or something like that. Nah, this is how we do it. Every job we do, a little bit of money goes into a pool for bonusing these guys.
Okay.
Okay, and then if they wreck anything, if I get a complaint, if they get dust in the house, they jack the siding a little bit, that money to fix it comes out of that pool money.
Oh,
It's their money. You know what I'm saying?
So they don't want to lose their money to pay for.
Yeah, you don't want to be a guy in the crew, the only guy, and it's
Right.
because now you're gonna be buying lunch for a week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
or a month.
Or a month, yeah. So they treat every house like it's their own house.
Yeah.
And if you go on and you look at our Google reviews,
Yeah.
they're all 5-star, and the thing that stands out to me is the amount of things about the cleanliness and the speed. That's the thing,
Mhm.
because everybody, when they buy something, they want 3 things, right? There's one thing, they want it quick, fast, they want it quick, they want it top quality, and they want it cheap.
Yeah.
The reality is you can only get 2 of them ever.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not gonna get all 3. So our company strives to give you all 3. You know, because that's like the golden goose, I guess,
Right,
is
yeah.
what you're looking for.
Yep.
And so that's kind of the mindset that we got.
You're the master of the segues, by the way. I'm just gonna tell you, 'cause
Okay.
my next one is, and
We didn't talk before
I know,
this. I was late. Yeah.
maybe I knew the thought process. I don't know. We've talked enough. about it.
There's
but-
there's a kindred spirit here.
There is. That's true. Can't pronounce your name right. but-
Yeah. Well, that's where it starts. You gotta get the name right.
Other than that, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So price.
Mhm.
Obviously, you've got these variables and things like that. Do you have like an average? Like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
what would the average be?
So our average package, which is like the installation within 45 minutes, in Wisconsin, because it's different in Illinois.
Sure.
And I can tell you why that is, but
We understand already.
yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you if you want me to tell you.
This is
I would like to hear it. I
He's
do Illinois.
he's licensed in Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like to hear it.
And I'm hearing stuff, he's talking through these Illinois stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah, geez.
yeah, I'm just gonna stay in Wisconsin. You go after that one, but
Yeah. So in Illinois, it's no secret they're hurting for some point,
Yeah.
they did mess things up. So.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is they are on top of CDL trucks coming into Illinois. Like they will block, they'll have squads checking, random weigh-ins, random registrations, things like that. So. In order for us to drive our trucks in Illinois, we have to be part of a national. It's called IFTA. Okay, it's a national program. So these semi-guy drivers can drive anywhere in the United States and Canada without having to register for that state when they get there or get a permit specifically for the state. And it's all to make sure the states get their taxes on the fuel that these guys are using. So they don't need to buy the fuel in the state, but so every month we have to, send a report in and file an IFTA return. And then that money gets shifted and go to wherever, depending on where we're at. So when you first start on that, it takes almost 3 years for them to establish where you're traveling. So you pay the average of the average of the trucking companies in Wisconsin, depending on where they drive, they figure out the average. So I'm paying states right now in Canada, I'm all over because I don't have that 3 years yet.
Right.
So it's very expensive. It's like $3,000 a truck, right? And then you gotta, and then to be part of that program, you're paying the taxes and stuff. So it probably costs us, to be able to work in Illinois with our equipment is probably 20 grand a year. Okay. And then in Illinois, every municipality or almost everyone requires you have a contractor license and a bond, not all of them, but you have to pay the city before you're gonna get a permit, or before the homeowner can get a permit, bond, all that type of stuff. So the combination of the risk of getting fined, the cost of doing business down there, all those sorts of things, and then there's extra accounting you need to do. We don't do a lot in Illinois for that reason.
so I have a feeling this average in Illinois is gonna be higher than this average in.
It's
Wisconsin.
$1,000 more.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
and we have to pay our guys more.
Got it. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably more union stuff and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
what's the average in Wisconsin?
So the average is about that package so if you have a standard height basement.
Okay.
And we don't need to put in a header, but a header is not that much more. So that header was used if the floor joists are gonna rest above the window.
Yeah.
If they run parallel to the window, you don't need a header.
Got it.
So without a header, if you've got good access, clean access within 45 minutes, the well, the cover and the window, which is a 48 by 48 window, it's a big window.
Yeah.
That package is gonna be about 5,800. And then if you're outside of that, or you want to add things on, it can be more than that. Or, yeah, obviously more than that.
So can you do all types of foundations? We've got poured concrete block
Great question.
down to the
Wood,
old days, wood, rock and mortar,
yeah, yeah,
Can you do all the foundations?
yes, well. The answer is yes,
Okay.
okay,
But-
except for wood foundation.
Okay.
Okay. So if it's stone block, whatever, especially the stone ones, like my brother and I, when we were in college, that's what we started doing, is repairing old field stone foundations. So, and actually we built some, like the one across from Sullivan, Foster Forbes, the one that Reisman's have.
Oh, yeah.
That barn, my brother and I built a slip for him to, the guy that owned it before, he jacked up in the whole wall that was in the center of the barn fell down. Because he took the weight off of it. And it fell down, pile of rubble.
Yeah.
And my brother and I were like, we built this, I read a bunch of old masonry books, like how they built like the round stone silos, but they built a slip form. And you just pile rocks in the form, and then the form would go up. So the form is what you did. And so when brother and I did it, we rebuilt that wall like in a day. It was so fast. Okay, so you look at these things like the big church up there in St. Mary's at Old,
Yeah.
you're like, how did they do that? Well, they just had a slip form and they just keep moving the form up as the wall went up and drop rocks in there in mortar. And then they take the form off and just mud it in. It's not real complicated. We can do those if the basement is less than. The thickness of the wall is less than 16 inches. And actually we could do it if it was more, but we'd have to cut from both sides because the deepest we can cut is a 16-inch blade.
That's gonna impact that cleanliness thing a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's not gonna be a clean deal. Yeah, and it's not gonna be cheap either. It's gonna be probably a 2-day job.
Okay,
So you could probably at least double the cost if you got a big one. But if it's less than 16, if it's like 12 inches or less,
Sure.
well, not a problem.
okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Wow. Okay, I'm definitely learning a lot about it. I knew there's a lot to it because I got licensed in 2014, so, egresses weren't, you talk about them occasionally, but it's a regular conversation now when homes don't have either a window in the right spot. They've got the little ones that are maybe a cat could fit through.
Yeah.
They're really, they're useless. And so it's coming more and more of a regular thing. So then obviously with low inventory right now, we did talk about this.
Yeah.
too. So people are, they've got family members moving in. I can't find anything. So they got kids moving home, parents moving with kids.
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of spectrum. So they're making these improvements.
Yeah.
So ultimately, everybody's always like, all right, if I'm gonna spend this $6,000.
Yeah.
What's my return on my investment? What is
Great
it?
question.
Do you have studies on that?
Yeah, I don't have any studies, but I have conversations with other realtors.
Okay.
I've been asked to come in and talk at the lunch and learns and
Okay.
things like that, Shore West and different one. It's usually after working with a realtor and having a conversation one-on-one with them, but it's a great question. And we're seeing the same thing, like almost everybody we're putting a window in, their families moving in, their kids are moving in, their parents are moving in or whatever, and they're gonna create this space for them. Multi-generational, kind of going back to the way it was used to be, right? Which is cool, the return on investment that I've heard, and it depends on how many existing bedrooms you have compared to what you're gonna add.
That makes sense.
If you have 5 bedrooms on, you're adding a 6th, it's really not gonna do
Yeah.
much.
it's not huge.
How many people are looking for 6 bedrooms?
Yeah. Versus the 2 to a 3,
Yeah.
it's gonna make a big deal.
Yeah, guys looking for 6 bedrooms are like Catholic families with 14 kids,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But anyway, what I've been told, if you got like a 3-bedroom adding a 4th or a 2-bedroom adding a 3rd, it can add up to 15% value of your home.
Yep.
Now, do the math on that. I mean, you got $300,000 home, 15% of that, I mean, it's huge, $45,000 for a $6,000 investment.
It's like a no-brainer.
That makes sense, because actually, I have a client you're very familiar with, who just sold her house. Intent, over in Briote.
Am I related to her?
Yeah, you're related.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar.
Over in Briote.
I was just talking to her ex-husband right before.
Oh,
But don't tell her that, and Mel, if you're listening.
she's working.
Oh, good.
She's not.
Good.
But
It was about your son, so it's all good.
Oh, yeah, it's all good then. It was probably, she was that was a 2-bedroom house turned into a 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
With egress window. I would say. Maybe it's probably around 15%. I bet it increased their value.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's what I've been told.
I'm,
Now you're just confirming it, Brad. See,
yeah,
this kindred thing going.
I know. So,
We're gonna have to have a beer sometime.
Yeah, really.
I know.
Really get into the talk, yeah.
So, no, I mean, I can definitely see
Yeah.
that 15% in certain situations, but you're right, the bigger homes or,
10 to 15% is what I've been told.
Yeah.
Upwards of 15 is
Well,
probably the average.
I can see that, and you're right, the 5, and which is rare, I mean, it's not a lot of 5-bedroom houses that you're turning to 6, but again, with families moving in,
Yeah.
the more bedrooms, the better, right? So,
Yeah, Brad, I mean, I'll give you a quick example. I ran comps on that listing we got coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Over on Dale Drive.
Yeah.
If it was a 4-bedroom house, we could easily get probably about 40 grand more for it, which would be about 15 to 16%
yeah,
more.
I'll see when my next opening is.
I'm trying to convince them too. I have an inside connection with them.
Well-
You guys need to do this.
So this is, I'm gonna tell you kind of what we're working on, but it's gonna happen. It's just not 100%.
Sure.
I'm working on a program specifically for realtors,
Okay.
listing and buying agents, and that program is gonna be like, look, if you got a buyer that's resisting the payment and you got a contract to sell this thing, we're gonna put this thing in.
Yeah.
Just pay us at closing, and then, you know, and our contract will be if it doesn't close, we, you know, we can lien the property until we're paid, obviously, right?
Right.
So nobody's stressed out about having to shell out money to do it.
That's good.
You know, that, you know, and it's gotta be a, you know, a contract within a certain period of time.
Yeah. that makes
You know, and, you know, for the referrals and, you know, working with our realtor partners that we're gonna create this program. So that's in the works.
Okay.
Great idea.
Yeah,
sense. Well, we're looking forward to seeing.
yeah, it's on the, it's on the top of the pile, so.
I can do that.
Nice.
We can-
That,
We know that feeling. It's at the top of the pile. Might not get
Yeah.
done tomorrow, but it's at the top of the pile. Couple more questions for you, Mike, before we wrap up here. One is, you know, you talk about that payment. Do you offer some type of financing for somebody that
Right.
is,
Good
you
question.
know, looking to, you know, install an egress window?
Great question. So right now we're working with Enhancify. They're basically like a bank rate type thing where,
Okay.
but they're awesome. They're really, really good. So we don't work directly, we don't get in the middle of that type of relationship.
Yeah.
But we also have one that we don't have on our website that we work with, it's called Sunlight Financial.
Fair for them.
So yeah, we just have one program with them because they let you pick any program, but most of the programs, we gotta pay a dealer fee. And if we gotta pay a dealer fee, we're gonna put that onto the.
Oh,
price,
right.
So this program is just like a 10-year fixed. I think it's like an 11.99 rate. So you can pick whatever term you want, but why wouldn't you pick 10 years? I mean, it's gonna be the rate's a rate. I mean,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? You can always
Pay it off sooner.
pay it off sooner. There's no prepayment penalty with it. The first payment doesn't start till like 60 days after the draw, the full 60 days after the first draw. So it could be up to 90 days before the first payment. So some people use it same as cash.
Yep.
We don't charge any extra fees if they use that because it doesn't cost us anything. It goes directly into our account once they fund it. So it's a great system. So we usually, what we try to do is when they approve through Enhancify and pick a program, we say, look, we got this other one. Just throw it out there. And a lot of them will go with that because everybody's like just short-term cash. They're gonna get their tax return, get married, whatever, you know, and then, so that's a program. And you, like, I've sat down at somebody's table at their house and said, oh, I want to do financing. In 20 minutes, it's closed and I've already requested funds. It's so fast.
Wow, that's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah,
That is really
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's amazing. You know, and then I know COVID was kind of helped skyrocket you guys a little bit with everyone wanting home offices and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, you started in 2019, is that what,
Yeah.
that correct? You know, how many employees do you have then? Where are you at
Those are the
today?
3 owners.
Oh, it's just the 3 of you, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And where are you at today with your crews?
So each crew has 3 people on it. There's an owner on each crew.
Okay,
Okay, and then we have a salesperson, Dana. She's works, you know, in conjunction with me. She used to be at another egress window company and now she's with us. We're very blessed to have her. In fact, I'm having lunch with her and a friend this afternoon. So we've got those employees and then my sister helps out with like the bookkeeping and then my sister-in-law, Chrissy, she's helped out with stuff. Anytime we need help with anything, she's, you know, steps right up. So we've got a good family business going
Yeah.
and my niece actually works with us and my stepson has worked with us before, you know, after he got out of the Marines there, he got discharged, so he came to work with us. And so we try to keep it, you know, like I vet out everybody that we talk to, like, you know, they gotta have the right mindset.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to get a bad seed in there, it just wrecks everything.
and how many
that's
guys are on a crew, so,
So 3, so
Oh.
there'll be 3 guys, one of them will be the owner,
Okay.
and then you know, Dusty or Brian being the owner. They'll go out there, get everything set up, get them, you know, get everything ready, and they'll go out there, get them all set up, and then when they see the trajectory is like gonna hit that mark.
Yep.
They can go do other things, you know,
Gotcha.
inventory, work on a truck, get something for maintenance, whatever.
Mhm.
And then if the guys they get paid for a full 8 hours. So that day where they get done at 11:30, they come back and we have a whole list of things they can work on shop, clean the truck out, do this, do that, do whatever. And so it just works, it's just, everything works good, and we do them year round, we can do it all winter long, I mean, we won't go out if it's, you know, in the low teens and not gonna warm up, or if it's very
Yeah.
windy in the winter. Or obviously snowstorms or thunderstorms with light rain, you know, we can work, and that's like with the landscape business, I mean, you're pretty much done maybe December 1st until
Right.
March sometime if you're lucky. This, we can do them year round.
That's awesome.
We have that figured out, you know, tent, we heat the tent. The guys are in there cutting in a 70, just like we're sitting in here.
oh, that's
you know?
awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
absolutely.
Obviously, it was very insightful. I think we learned a lot.
Yeah,
So we'll be putting this podcast out on our YouTube channel, of course, at
Yep.
Eagle Home 72. We'll get this over to Mike too, so he can share it out through your website, email, whatever.
So I was thinking, Wow, like, so talking to all them realtors.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna forward this video.
Yeah, there you go.
Because this
That
is the
works.
talk.
Yeah.
This is the talk.
Yeah.
I'm talking to realtors, you're a realtor, like, I'm just, if that's cool with you. that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that works.
Everybody.
Just something else got taken off my.
Hey,
There you go. Hey, glad we could help.
Yes, no, thanks for asking.
yeah, customers, realtors, we don't care, whoever.
Yeah,
yeah.
So,
All right, awesome.
perfect.
All right, well, I'm Vince Devall with Eagle Homes, powered by EXP. It was, thank you for having us this week.
Yeah, I'm still Brad Brewer from the beginning of this whole podcast. Thanks again, Mike, for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'll have to have you back again and see what all the changes are coming with all these different things that are coming down the pipeline. So
Yeah,
make sure you get back on our schedule when those are done.
Yeah, whenever you need me, yeah, absolutely, I'll reach out.
Awesome.
All right,
All right.
thanks. Have a
Thank
great
you.
week, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.